Salute, comrades. This is Behind the Walls Talk with your founder, William McCallum, and I thank you for visiting this domain. I'm here to give you an insight into the minds and hearts of those incarcerated that have been deemed voiceless. Well, this is where their voice and stories will be told for those of you who are concerned with human beings that are in prison for the mistakes they have made and for some of the injustices that were committed against them. Resolutions for reform is the goal and objective looking to be attained. Now step into our world. Welcome to another episode of Behind the Walls Talk. I got a brother with me here that goes by the name of CJ. He's a very good brother, very charming, very intelligent, and very serious. And he has a lot of issues that he would like to speak with you about today, especially prison conditions that we go through behind these walls. But I would like to go ahead and interview this brother and everything, so therefore I can represent him to the best of my ability. My brother, would you please tell the listeners and everything, what's your name and where are you from?
My name is Christian Jones. I'm originally from Boston, but I grew up in Arlington, Virginia, outside of D.C.
What were you charged with? I know you were convicted of something different, but what were you charged with and how much time did they give you?
Okay, I was originally charged with first-degree murder, first-degree burglary, first-degree kidnapping, attempted robbery with a dangerous weapon, conspiracy to commit armed robbery, and possession of a firearm by a convicted felon. But I was only convicted of second-degree murder, first-degree burglary, and attempted robbery with a dangerous weapon.
Hey, how long have you now been incarcerated?
I've been incarcerated now about 15 years, 7 months, and I was given a 33-year, 10-month to 42-year, 10-month sentence.
With the time that you've already done, I would like to know how your sentence has been since you've been incarcerated, and what are the conditions and everything that you have been facing and that you have seen since you've been incarcerated?
Well, that is a loaded question. So let's go ahead and start with the first part. What have I seen about the conditions here in prison and the things that I've went through? The first thing is the loss of freedom, and that is a big statement there, and it can be easily underrated. The loss of being able to do the things that you like to do, even the basic things of getting up in the morning and walking to your refrigerator, getting something to eat when you want to, or getting a sip of water, especially in closed custody when you're sitting behind a door. But those are just the little simple things. But then you have the loss of just dealing with your friends, your social life, because your social life here is literally put on hold. Dealing and having time to spend with your loved ones, children, friends, family. And then you have the dealing with the other personality that you don't normally mesh with, people you don't normally would associate with when you're in here. And then you have to deal with the officers who might have a bad day and decide to take it out on you. So you got a lot of moving parts that you have no control over when you're in here. So it's a humbling experience.
I'm pretty sure there's situations that you may have faced or that you may have seen. Is there anything in particular that you would like to speak on that you have seen that you really dislike when it comes to the professionalism of staff and administration?
Well, there's a whole lot I could speak on that topic also. So let's go ahead and begin by this. I also served in the United States Marine Corps, and being that I had served, I've seen a lot of people who were placed in authority and positions above you. So I understand, chain of command and having somebody who, technically has that power over you and how, you're supposed to handle those things. But in here, the biggest thing that I see, and the one thing I'd like to speak on is dealing with people who abuse that power, the abuse of power. I've also dealt with the same thing while I was in the military, so it kind of hits close to home. So a couple of things I usually see is officers coming in here. Mostly it's the administration, or I would say the higher ups. I guess after they've received, their stripes or their bars, they decide that they're above the law per se. So they do things that aren't necessarily in accord with their rules and standard operating procedures. Just a few days ago, for example, one of my brothers He was asking about using a tablet, and a lieutenant happened to be down here. Lieutenant's normally a pretty decent guy, but today I guess he wasn't in the mood. So he decided to call my brother a word that I refused to use on the show. But he uses profanity, which is supposed to be grounds for automatic termination, yet we have no proof of that. There's no cameras in the area, and there's no audio recording. So he uses profanity, and when my brother decides to use the profanity back, he decides to lock my brother up. Well, my brother goes up to operations where there are no cameras. The lieutenant and the sergeant who was up there proceeded to assault him. And it could be just, somebody's word against the inmate's word. But when he comes back, he's got the bruises on him to prove it, and he didn't leave with bruises on him. He's not going to beat himself up and leave bruises on himself. So, that's just one situation among many. And it's more common than you believe, and it's mostly pushed under the rug because the people who will come and investigate these type of situations, they work for the state. So they have something invested in not reporting it if it can't be proven.
You're definitely right about that. We have a lot of situations like that have been occurring over the years, especially since I've been incarcerated. I've just seen time and time again where you got the authority, where you had these individuals in that position of authority.
This call is from a North Carolina correctional facility.
They would definitely abuse their power, and it's a shame, because we don't have no outside entity that would come in and investigate these situations and issues, and there's no transparency that we really need within the prison system to show exactly what we're going on in here, and somebody that we could contact in case situations like this do occur. I found it very interesting that you said that you was in the military. You was in U.S. Marines. Could you tell me what your job title or what it is that you did in the U.S. Marines?
Okay, so first of all, every Marine is first and foremost a rifleman. So that was basically what everybody is. But my job was, I was an administrative clerk. My MOS was a 0121. My job was literally to separate Marines from the Marine Corps depending on the reasons they were leaving. You had ADSEPs, which were administrative separations. You had retirees, medical separations, and you had the end of your active service, also known as the EAS. So that was my job, but, there was all other things that we also had to do day to day. Temporary additional duties, MUs, Marine Expeditionary Units. So there was all other different types of things we had to do, deployments. But basically, I sat behind a desk, behind a computer, and I pretty much terminated people's careers in the Marine Corps.
He terminated people's careers. Hey, that's really crazy. Hey, look, I'd like to ask you a couple of personal questions and everything, man. Do you have any children? If so, what are their names and how old are they?
Okay, I have two children, both girls. I have a 19-year-old. Her name is Brianna. She's everything to me. And I have a younger daughter named Destiny. She's 15. She'll be 16 shortly. And sorry to say, I hate to say it, but I haven't been in contact with her since this incarceration over the last 13 years, 14 years. I haven't seen her since she was before she turned 2 years old. So haven't heard her voice, haven't spoken to her or her mother, and it sucks. Simply put.
Yeah, I definitely can understand where you're coming from with that, my brother. I have a daughter that go by the name of Destiny too, man. That's very interesting. And I didn't know that fact. You know what I'm saying? But I have a daughter that go by the name of Destiny too as well, and that's my baby there. How does having children while being incarcerated affect your time, though? How does it make you feel by being absent in their lives physically, and what is it that you do to be there for them mentally and spiritually?
Well, I have to go back to answer this question and give you a little bit of background. So I was adopted myself, okay? I was taken from my mom when I was 4 years old, and even at that young age, I still remember, I have the memories of it. And as I got older, I always, knew that I wasn't with my real family, and I always wanted to know who my mom was, and also my father. So at the age of 15, I got into contact with my mother, and when I was 17, I seen her for the first time since I was a child. And when I went to Boston, because she was still living in Boston, I was living in Arlington, Virginia, I went up there to go see her. My father was supposed to show up, and he never showed up. I made 7 trips to and from Boston, to see him, and he never showed up. So the last opportunity I had to see him before he passed in 2017 was 2004, and he happened to be down here in North Carolina. It was in Charlotte, so I made an attempt to reach out to him because my mother told me that I can go visit him if I would like, and he never picked up the phone for me to call, for me to come see him. So he never answered my call. So at that point in my life, I had made a decision, and I told myself that I was never going to not be there for my children, and that my children would always know that I love them. So give you that background so that you understand how profoundly the separation from my children affects me. Because nothing is more important to me than family and taking care of those you love, your support group and those you support. So being in here and not being around my children is probably the worst thing ever to me out of this whole situation. Forget the loss of the freedom. Forget, the fact that I'm growing old in this prison. Forget the fact that I see the injustices done every day. To me, the biggest effect is me not being able to be a part of my children's life. So, daily, it's a struggle because, I have my 19-year-old who's in college right now playing basketball and trying to mentor a young woman who hasn't had that kind of structure in her life, from a man. Now she's grown, and a man she doesn't know as well as I would like. It's kind of hard. How do you don't know when to be forceful, when not, and what kind of advice you can give her without pushing her away. And that's a struggle that I deal with. But she's a well-behaved child. I call her a child still, but she's highly intelligent. She's a very personable person. She's very social. People love her, that they adore her. But she also has, like everybody else, she has a problem. So I have to tread a fine line where I don't push her away and I try to guide her. And I don't put too much pressure on her because, like I said, she's a good child. She has a great head on her shoulders. But as for my youngest daughter, that eats me up so much because I constantly have tried to reach out to the mother.
You have 60 seconds remaining.
I'm constantly trying to reach out to her mother, and her mother, I haven't spoken to her in so long. I haven't given up, though. That's one thing I don't know how to do. I don't know how to give up. So I'm going to keep reaching out, but it eats at me, And with the time that I have remaining, it just seems like that I'm losing out on opportunities to be a positive influence in the direction their lives are going. So, I just try my best to try to guide them in a good path. So that's the best.
You have 30 seconds remaining.
And that's what I try to do.
To be continued.
And there's one more thing that I'd like to say on the subject before we move on to the next one. I've been in here for a while, and one thing that is probably not talked about in here is how other individuals in here are affected by the loss of being around their loved ones. Sometimes we're I don't know the proper term, but we're looked at as monsters. People try to dehumanize us and do not look at the fact that we are people too. We just made mistakes. When it comes to our children, the guys in here that I've dealt with and I spend my time with and listen to, they all are the same when it comes to their children. Their children mean everything to them, and sometimes they don't know how to express it because it wasn't expressed to them in a proper way. But they love their children so much that most of the decisions that they have, and most of the actions they take are based off of their children in here. And it might be hard to see, obviously, because you can't really look into the life of an inmate. And I just want it to be known that, I'm not an anomaly in here. This is one of the greatest subjects that people talk about throughout their day is their children and their mothers. So I just wanted to be known, put that in the airwaves. So you listeners out there listening to this cast, just remember that because we are human and we do feel and we do love our children.
That's right, my brother. 'Cause I definitely love my children too as well, man. I always speak about them. I always praise them for their accomplishments and their achievements. And
This call is from a North Carolina Correctional Facility.
And I'm so proud of them and everything that they do in life. You know what I'm saying? They can do no wrong in my eyes. You know, and I always try to uplift them, encourage them, and motivate them to be the best that they could possibly be in whatever task that they partake in, man. So I definitely understand exactly where you're coming from with that, my brother. Do you have moral and mental support for someone in society? If so, who are they and what would you like to say to them?
Well, the answer to that question is no. I have none of that. I don't have no moral, mental, or what was the other one? No moral or mental support. Most of the time throughout this bid, these last 15 years, I've been pretty much supporting myself. So and it's not really been much of a struggle because I've been much of a loner most of my life. You know, I've been kind of on my own. From 13 to 17, I did a juvenile bid, and I learned how to pretty much take care of myself. I came home, did 1 year of high school, graduated, went and joined straight into the Marine Corps right after 9/11, and I've been on my own ever since. So I don't really look for people for that kind of support. Not saying that it would be nice, because it would always nice to have to know that you're loved and you're cared for, you know. And with that being said, I'd like to go ahead and go off on a tangent along the same subject. And just for once again, for you listeners out there, if you have loved ones who are incarcerated, or those you care about, or you call yourself caring about them, why don't you let them get a little show of support? Why don't you let them know that you care about them? Because when you're sitting in here behind these walls and you see the people who do care, who are putting money on their canteen, who are doing the video visits, who come up there and take the time to visit them and physically, and then send them letters through the mail, and your words seem hollow when you know every other people are experiencing these things that you're lacking. You know, and a lot of people won't speak on it because us as men, you know, we tend to hold our emotions on the inside, but it affects them on a daily basis. And when you feel that you've done enough to support them in any way, shape, form, or fashion, maybe you might want to ask them if they feel that way. You know, it isn't going to hurt anything. You know, and a lot of people, you know, are out of sight, out of mind, and that's the feeling that most guys in here have, because we're out of sight and we are out of mind. You claim you're thinking about us, and you claim that you have too much time. Not enough time on your hands. But it doesn't take long to write a letter. It doesn't take long to send a text message. Just take a couple minutes out of your day to let somebody know you care about them. A letter goes a long way.
That's true, my brother. You're definitely right about that, man. You couldn't have said it. I couldn't have said it no better myself. Hey, I want to ask you something, man. Well, I was going to ask you on what's your story on how you grew up as a youth and everything, but I know that you said that you came up and you was adopted, and you said that you did a juvenile bid and everything. Have you had to deal with the death of loved ones, family, or friends since being incarcerated?
Well, I'm going to go ahead and answer the first part of your question, because I only gave you a little taste of it. Then I'll come back to that one. But so my background story is not very similar to the stereotypical individual you would find here in the prison system. Okay, so even though I was adopted and I did that juvenile bid, I was in a situation where I was in a loving family, in a loving home, but we weren't very expressive about our love. And being that I was in a home with a bunch of other kids, I always kind of felt left out because I was that middle child. It took me getting older and doing that 4-year bid to really understand what I had, because I was practically spoiled. You know, I had a great home. I had all the stuff I needed, all the stuff that the other kids didn't have. I had. You know, I wasn't one who lacked for anything. So it was interesting to be around people who were less fortunate than I, and to see how they turned out, and it humbled me and opened my eyes to the bad behavior, and I was exemplifying and exhibiting, and it turned me around, because I was definitely going down a bad path. So after being adopted, I moved in with a family that was had other children in the home. So one of them was 3 years older than me, one of them was 2 years older than me, who I call my brothers, and that's Reggie and Andy. And I had my little sister with me, who's a year younger than me. So as we grew up, Andy was the baby before I came along, me and my little sister, who was adopted along with me. And Andy took that personally, that he was no longer the baby in the family. So he took it out on me and used to beat me up every day. So we had one of them love-hate relationships where He could beat me up, but nobody else could beat me up. So he was my biggest protector, but also my worst enemy. So when I came home from doing that 4-year bid, I had learned how to defend myself. Obviously, I was one of the smallest people up there, so I had to deal with a lot of physical abuse for the first 4 or 5 months I was up there, even by some of the officers there. But it was an experience I needed because not only did it toughen me up, it prepared me for the world where I wasn't sheltered anymore. And when I came home, me and my brother had a different type of relationship. I guess the separation between us, and he became like my best friend. So I only said that to seeg into the fact to let you know how I was brought up and my mentality to go ahead and explain to you about the death of my loved ones because he had passed away. So Andy had passed away on this bid in 2013. And
This call is from a North Carolina correctional facility.
That we were so close that his loss kind of messed me up, and I didn't find out till he had passed away till 3 days later. My mother had wrote me a letter, but it was a problem, watching my people fall away because Andy was just the first of many. My cousin Jason, he died from cancer. My father passed away. My real mother, she passed away. So that was 2017, 2018, back to back. After that, my grandmother passed away, and then my other grandmother and my grandfather, and my father passed away. And so, I've lost a lot of people along the way. 15 years, people grow old, but a lot of these people weren't even old. So, now I'm dealing with my adopted mother. She's 87 years old. She just had a stroke about a little over a month ago. She's recovering from it, but she's 87. She's 87 years old. So, I have, at this moment, 18 years and 2 months left on the minimum of my sentence. So it's highly unlikely that I'll ever see her again because I haven't seen her since I've been on this bid. But dealing with the loss of them it's heartbreaking because I know everybody goes through the loss. We all have to experience it, but it's just I want them to know how much I love them, and it's hard to express that just in words over the phone. There's not much I can do here, and I'd love to be able just to hold her one more time, at least see her and spend some time around her, and show her more than just tell her that I appreciate all that she's done to me, and she will never understand how much she means to me. And I can't never tell my brother those things because he's gone. I can't tell my real mother, how much she meant to me, and that I wish that I had more time to spend with her because she spent her last few moments trying to help me out in my situation. So, it's just missing those people, and then while you're in here, who's next? Which is the next one you're going to lose when you have time like that. And it makes you realize the fragility of life. You build all these bonds for them to be easily broken, and you really have no control over how any of this plays out. So that's just the reality that we all have to deal with.
Well, I tell you what, man, just listening to you speak about your brother and everything, you know what I'm saying? I lost my brother too as well since I've been incarcerated, and I lost a lot of other family members too as well, man. And, it could be heart-wrenching, you know what I'm saying? Especially when you can't be out there, you know what I'm saying? Tend to wake, the funeral, you know what I'm saying? Console others that you love, that's going through the same heart-wrenching problems that you're going through too as well. So I definitely understand where you're coming from with that, man. And, I want to be out there for my mother too. My mother, she's up in age too as well. And that's one of my biggest fears. You know what I'm saying? Something happening to her while I'm in here and not me not being able to be out there for her, whatever it does happen. I definitely understand where you come from, my brother. So you got to bring tears to my eyes, man. Just sitting here thinking about it and listening to you speak about it. To be honest with you, man. Boy. Yeah, go ahead and get you some water, my brother. I might have to get some myself. Listen, man, I'd like to ask you this question right here, man, because, we deal with the youth. We have youth in here that's incarcerated with us, man, and, there's youth out there in society right now that's basically headed on the path to coming in here, with the crimes that they're committing out there in society. I'd like to know, what is it that you would like to say to the youth out there now that are being misled and find the life of crime intriguing, dealing with mental health issues from traumas they've already faced at a young age, and feel as if there's no other way out of their poverty-stricken lives?
Well, there's a whole lot that could be said on that subject, but this is what I'm going to say. All right, most of the people who end up in those poverty-stricken lives is a product of us here, without having both the family, both the parents, the breadwinners in the home. So it begins with us. So let's go ahead and be clear on that. So for those listeners who are out there, this is a plea for you guys, to advocate for us, because we have nobody else out there, and you'll understand what I'm saying by the end of the time I speak on this topic. So the youth out there now are being products of the streets, not of the homes. All right. So we as human beings are products of our experiences. Point blank. Period. You can take two children, same DNA, twins, and raise them in two different environments, and they will grow up two different ways. So it's not where you technically come from, it's what you've been through that determines who you are. All right? So when they see one woman struggling in the house, a lot of kids, depending on who they are, want to help. So that leads them to people who they see making money or making ends meet. And that, of course, leads to, the life of crime, whether it's selling drugs, whether it's jack boys, whatever the case may be. Because as a young age, you can't legitimately make money any other way. So what's misleading most of them, though, is our culture. It's a cultural situation. Because if you see it, they got what they call white-collar crime and blue-collar crime because of specific reasons, because certain types of people from certain types of background do certain types of crimes.
You have 60 seconds remaining.
If you look at those certain types of crimes that are being committed by our youth, they all fall along the same category, and it's usually the people who are a little bit older teaching these youths how to do it. And where these older people are getting these topics, these ways from, is from our music and from the rap videos and from all that other stuff.
You have 30 seconds remaining.
To be continued.
So as I was saying, it's a cultural thing that we do to ourselves. The life that we portray in our rap videos and in our music is something that the youth listen to. So when you hear these shoot 'em up bang bangs, and when you hear, I get money from jacking people's stuff and I'm selling all this dope, you're creating a life and a vision in a child, an adolescent, of success because they see you as successful. So when they see these things, they feel like they can do it too. Because even as a child, I understood that if someone else was capable of doing something, I could do it too. I always believed in myself. And I'm sure there's many of the youth out there who are listening now that also believe in themselves wholeheartedly. And if they see that a young 22, 23-year-old man is a multimillionaire, he's talking about jacking boys and robbing and killing and stealing, and he's become successful, they feel like they can do it too. So a lot of the things that are problems are our own. We created them ourselves. We like to blame them on other people. But at the end of the day, it's a cultural thing. It's a societal thing. And don't get it twisted. I understand that, that we've already dealt a bad hand. So I understand that. I've been through it. We all have been through it. Everybody who's listening to this has probably been through it, because otherwise it wouldn't mean anything to them to even take the time out of their day to listen to this podcast. So those of you who are listening, I get it. You get it. We get it. But it's got to start somewhere. Somebody's got to break the...
This call is from a North Carolina Correctional Facility.
So what I say to the youth out there is that you may not see the light at the end of the tunnel, but you're young. I'm 41 years old now. I've been incarcerated since I was 26. I'll be 42 here coming up in June. Okay, I lived a good life from the age of 17 till I was 26 and did not come back to prison. But even though I had done these things, served in the military, I was also ran a couple of businesses. I was a general manager for Domino's. You see, I've also taken a fall because I lost sight of what was important to me. I forgot what it was like being incarcerated. So I'm going to tell you what it's like being incarcerated. This way you can really understand the truth of it. We're not going to glamorize or dramatize any of this. You know, being in here is nothing fun. When you sit up every day around a bunch of people you don't know and you don't like. You're around smelly people who have bad hygiene. You're around loud and boisterous people who have no respect for you. You have people around here who make it their business to make your life a living hell. And then you get locked up for your first bid. You do a month or two. You do 6 months. You do a year. Then you're doing 3 years. And then you're doing 5. Next thing you know, you're close to your 30s. And you have nothing under your belt. You haven't accomplished anything in your life but prison. You don't have any property that you call your own. You don't have a driver's license. You don't own a home. You have no one in your family that really trusts you or believes that you're capable of being successful. And it's nothing but your own doing. And then you mess around and get caught doing one of them things you've been doing that you haven't been getting caught for, and you end up doing time like me, and then you end up with a 25, 30-year sentence. And then you're sitting on the bed and wondering to yourself at night, how did I do this? How did I end up here? I'm smarter than this. I'm better than this. If only, if only, if only. So this if only is coming to you right now through the airwaves. I'm telling you right now, if only you listen to me right now, you wouldn't have to go through the scenario that 43,000 people in North Carolina are going through right now at this moment. You know? So if you think that the quick way is the easy way out right now, think again, because there is 43,000 people incarcerated right now in North Carolina who thought the same thing you did, and look where it brought us. Don't become the statistic.
That's that fire. That's what I love to hear right there, my brother. That's exactly what the children need to hear. That's exactly what the youth need to hear, man. And the parents of the youth and everybody out there that has contact with the youth and everything, man. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Behind the Walls Talk, man, and I want all of you out there that's listening right now, man, make sure the youth that you're in contact with, make sure that they listen to this, man. Make sure that they listen to the words that this brother is speaking about, because he's speaking facts. He's telling you exactly what's going on in here. He's telling you exactly what you all want to experience. If you continue living a life of crime, continue not listening to your teachers, continuing not listening to your parents, continuing not listening to the ones that care about you, the ones that love you, the ones that adore you, the ones that want to see you prosper. You know what I'm saying? And live your life to the best of your ability. Be successful and just enjoy life, man. Have fun, because you have a long life ahead of you, man. Please, y'all listen to this brother. I got another question for you, my brother. And I would like for you to tell the viewers what a second chance in society means to you.
You know, that's funny that the first time anybody asked me that question comes from you after 15 and a half years of doing this. You know, I'm not quite halfway through it, and I'm hoping, you know, that God has a way for me to finish this sentence early. But what a second chance means is it means everything. You know, it's just more than just a second chance in society. It's a second chance in life. It's a second chance of being a father to my children. It's a second chance of being another father, because I want to be there for a child that I've sired, and I want to raise them up from infant all the way up to adulthood. I haven't had that experience, and most of us in prison have not had that experience. I'd really like to say that none of us in prison have had that experience, and most of us in here haven't had that experience to have anybody else in the home and do that for us either. You know, so my second chance means everything to me. It means more to me than almost anything outside of my child. Now, what it would entail, you know, is saying that you don't look at me as if I'm a product, as if my whole entire existence culminates down to my worst mistake. That you box me in and say that all the other things I've accomplished in my life mean nothing, that I am just a product of my worst mistake. You know, I don't want to go too far into the details of my case in here on this, but let's just say that I made a mistake, and during the events that transpired, a man had lost his life. And 2 years after that, I was still a free man. And if you go back and look at my case, if anybody's even interested in looking at it, you'll see that the only charge I had accrued during that time frame were the possession charges of drugs. And I had been out for 2 years during this time frame. I became a general manager for Domino's. It didn't require me coming to prison to understand that I had made a mistake. And I knew that it was going to follow me, but I knew that, sometimes you might get away with some things, but I knew that at the end of the day, this was going to come back and bite me in the rear end. So I would love to have the opportunity to show the people, society, the citizens, those who
This call is from a North Carolina Correctional Facility.
those who don't really care about the title convicted felon, that I can be a productive member of society. But it's more than just becoming a productive member of society. It's more than just be given a second chance, because I actually have a plan. I have a plan to reduce the recidivism rate here in North Carolina. And I don't have enough time to go into the details here, but I've spoken with a lot of the brothers around here who know me, and they know that I'm sincere in this, because I want to give the youth an opportunity, and those young individuals who do find themselves in here, but they've received a light sentence, an opportunity to get back out. The biggest struggle for those of us when we leave the prison system, as I've seen here, where people repeatedly come back in and out of the prison and come and speak to me about it, is that the struggle is getting a job, is having support when they get out, so they don't have to resort back to the same things that they've done that brought them here in the first place. That is their biggest issue. And it might seem a little thing, and the worst part of this is that we as a society, we decide how we're going to treat these people, and yet we want to be blind to the fact that we hold them accountable for the rest of their lives by labeling them as felons and making it harder for them to become successful. But why do we do these things? Why do we do these things to our own people if we care that we were supposed to be, a nation of people? How do we do this to the people? Now, there's the detractors out there, and I hear you out there who's saying that, oh, you done committed a bad crime, why should we reward you and make things easy for you? Well, don't you think that it would show that we have faith in our people to rehabilitate if we gave them a helping hand instead of pushing them even further down? How do you think they got in that situation in the first place? You think you're going to make it better for anybody by doing that? I could be the next man who's serving you at the McDonald's or the Wendy's, or I could be the next man who comes to your house, system in your home, But if you don't give me the opportunity to prove myself, if you want to hold me accountable for the rest of my life and put these labels on me, how do you expect me to become successful? We supposed to lift each other up, those who are down, and yet we are a nation of hate and anger now, and we want to put blame on everybody else around us. But there are ways to help these people, So what I would like to do is I'd like to start a business that for people who come out and they're on post-release and they got probation or parole, I would put a program out there to help them within 90 days of them leaving. I'd like to interview them and bring them along, and I'd have 3 business ideas I'd like to start, and I'd employ them, and I'd also give them a place to stay. I'd start by buying an apartment building, and I have them out there with government funding. I can house them so that way they have a place to stay. I'd give them clothes and a phone so that way they don't have to go out and figure out where they're going to get these things from. They don't have to worry about where they're going to live, and I'd employ them myself. And I'd have there's a commercial CDL program that they have here on state. A lot of people are into that. So I would definitely have a trucking business with them delivering. They're very limited contact with people, so they're less likely to give off bad vibes to people and, have to deal with people, because a lot of people are shy when they leave prison. They're dealing with people. They feel like there's an aura attached to them and that people can see it and know it. So a lot of these guys, they don't have confidence in themselves of being successful. I want to build that confidence up. I want to build that ability in them to feel like that they can succeed, because we strike each other down. And I'm not for all of that. I'm all about uplifting the people. So a second chance is more than just a second chance for me. It's a second chance for other people out there too, because I'm all about helping my fellow man.
Yes, my brother. I'll be glad when you get out of here, man. You know what I'm saying? So therefore you can go out there and be that inspiration that I know you are to everybody out there in society. You're definitely a pillar in the community. You're definitely that voice that everybody needs to hear. You know what I'm saying? Man, this is a lovely interview, man, and I love doing it with you, man. Is there any last word that you would like to share with the listeners?
Sure. How about let's go ahead and speak on the advocacy as I was talking about. So there's a lot of stuff going on in the prison system. I can't speak on the other prison systems. I can only talk about here in North Carolina. So I met a man named Corey Purvis, and yes, I'm putting his name out there in the airwaves, who had spent time at Pimlico and left the prison system. He's my inspiration, by the way. So Corey, if you hear this, I want you to know that you touched me in a way that I hope that I can use you to help other people the way you've helped me and inspire me. So I met Corey during a religious session at Pimlico, and he left the prison after doing 15 years, and he ended up opening up businesses and hiring people, and he came back to the prison and started to talk to people he knew who was in the prison he had done time with. Well, during the pandemic, I happened to see Corey on the TV in front of the governor's mansion and advocating for the prison conditions. This is a man who knew exactly what was going on in the prison system. And he's out there spending his time and his effort trying to make things better for us. So he's my inspiration. But there are more people out there than Corey. They just don't know how to go about and make these things possible. Well, spend the time, the energy.
You have 60 seconds remaining.
Spend the time, the energy, and the effort required to make it a reality, because there are some very good brothers sitting in here that just need a second chance. And not only do they need a second chance, but if you haven't noticed here in North Carolina that a lot of people are receiving a lot of time here, and this prison system isn't about any rehabilitation. This prison system is about warehousing people. We get the bare minimum of everything in here.
You have 30 seconds remaining.
To be continued.
North Carolina is the last place to get anything done that is positive for us inmates in here. And once I said earlier that, I get it. I understand that some people in society feel like, you've committed a crime, you should be punished. But our punishment isn't hard time. Our punishment isn't disrespect. Our punishment isn't, being ill-treated. Our punishment is to be separated from our loved ones. If you could see the conditions, and it's probably one of the reasons why they don't allow people to come into prison. They don't allow anybody to see the footage on the outside. They don't allow any recording devices inside of here. Even when you're on a video visit, you're not allowed to see the background of what's going on around here. Everything in here is bad. I'm looking at my water fountain less than 10 feet away from me. There's rust all over it. They haven't changed the filter inside the water fountain since I've been here in 10 months. They're supposed to be changed every 6 months. Can you imagine? This is the water that we drink every day. Everything I look at is hard. The concrete, the walls, the chairs we sit in, our beds, everything is hard. We have back problems, joint problems. We don't have any kind of softness in here, and it gives us health issues. Our medical system is a joke. It's a joke, and we have a whole lot of serious health problems, and the things you have to go through. If I'm sick and I say I need help, I have to fill out a request form. And when I fill out this request form, it takes them up to 2 weeks to come see me. By then, I'm no longer sick, and they say that it wasn't a dire situation. There is no real help for that. If you get hurt, let's say I sprain an ankle, it's ibuprofen and ice, and maybe an ankle.
This call is from a North Carolina Correctional Facility.
You have to go through a monthly process just to get an x-ray, and then to get an MRI after that. And you have to keep doing this and spending your money just to make it happen, So these are just a few of the things that I'd like to talk about on the end of this. But my point is that this is the conditions of the prison is horrible, 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 horrible. And I've lived all over the country. I've been all over the place. I've been in situations that you wouldn't believe, and we're not going to go into that. But this right here is probably the worst experience of my life. And not just because of the mental struggles, but it's the totality of it all. So what I would like to say to those of you who are listening is be a voice for those who have no voice, because we can't do this and make this a better place without you, And we always want to help the next man, but it's hard to help the next man when we can't help ourselves. If you have a loved one incarcerated, or you know somebody who's incarcerated, let them know that you care for them. Let them know that you're there for them. It doesn't take much to do that. Just reach out to them. Let them know that they mean something to you, because most of the guys in here feel like people don't care about them, and it hardens your heart. It makes it harder for you to have loving relationships when you get out. You know, you don't trust people only as far as you can see them when they're in your face, because when you're not there, they don't matter. They don't think about you. So I ask you to go to your representatives, to go to the advocates, go to people who can do something, any local agencies that you can go to, and speak about these deplorable conditions that we live through day in and day out. There's so much more on this topic that I love to go into right now, but I'm not going to burn up too much more time over here. I thank you guys for listening to what I had to say, and I appreciate you, and I love you all, and I hope and pray that you guys can do what's best for not only you, but for those you care about who are here in the prison system. So I wish you all the best, and God bless.
All of us from Behind the Walls Talk, man, man, we thank you, my brothers, for giving us this interview, for giving us your spirit, your strength, your energy, and everything that you had to say, my brother. Hey, man, that was very beautiful, man. I appreciate you, and I thank you for that, man. You know what I'm saying? Yes, my brother. You know what I'm saying? I always going to be there for you, my man. You know, for let all these brothers and everything, let your voice be heard. You know what I'm saying? And that's the main point. That's the point of Behind the Walls Talk. Let these brothers' voices be heard, because their voices need to be heard. You know, because they have something to say. They have something on their mind. They have something to give. They have something, you know what I'm saying, that everybody in society needs to hear. You know, it's their voices. Man, that was a beautiful interview, man. So I'm going to leave you with that, man. That was the brother CJ, man. Support this brother. You're going to see his name, his Opus number. You're going to see his pictures and everything. Please support this brother, man. Get this brother a shout-out. The brother, he did a very good job, and the brother still, he's doing what he's supposed to do behind these walls. He's a righteous brother. He's a stand-up brother, and he's a brother to a lot of brothers in here. So make sure you contact this brother, man, and get his brother the support that he needs, man. And all you local leaders and you legislators, listen to what this brother's saying, because this brother can bring about changes in our community. He needs to be out there in society, so therefore he can help the communities, help his family, be out there for them, and support them and protect them and provide for them. Please contact this brother, CJ. You're going to see him, and you're going to hear from him again. I promise you will. Love y'all, man. Thank you for joining Behind the Walls Talk.